Uganda has excellent potential to rid itself of poverty and food insecurity if government reviews its policies to address commercialization of agriculture through joint venture with the private sector. Poverty is rampant in Uganda due to subsistence means of production. The situation can be reversed with the government intervention to inform joint venture with the private sector. In Sembabule district, central region, there is Sembeguya Estates, one of the leading goat breeder in the country, on a 4 square miles ranch. The ranch raises local, exotic and crossbreed goats. As the Uganda Broadcasting Farming Program production crew moves around the country to see how farming is progressing, we had an opportunity to move with the Ms. Joan Kakwenzire, Senior Presidential Advisor, Poverty Alleviation Department PAD of the State House, who led us to Mr. Apollo Sembeguya's goat ranch in Sembabule. But before we had a conduct tour around the area, we had a chance to talk to him. So join us in Sembabule Ruhinga at Apollo Sembeguya's goats ranch to hear how he started off with his project and how far he has benefited out of it.
We are now in Kachinga, in Sembabule district, on Kakinga farm belonging to Mr. and Mrs. Sembeguya, who are implementing a presidential initiative for wealth creation. This project started way back 2005 with the active assistance of His Excellency the President on a national drive to create wealth. I'll ask the farmer, Mr. Sembeguya, to tell us about this project, how it has moved, the success has registered, the challenges has faced, and the prospects he sees in our national drive for wealth creation.
Thank you, Mrs. Kakwenzire. Yes, we are implementing the presidential initiative for poverty alleviation. The project started way back in 2005, but it had some ups and downs. It was meant to be implemented within 5 years. The first 2 years was meant to procure 54,000 local goats, and they were meant to be supplied to 108 farmers. But initially, things did not move according to plan. So the project stalled for all those years with some challenges, but we eventually managed to set it off again. And we started this year. So far, we have procured 8,000 goats and 60 savannah goats, which are meant to crossbreed with our local goats. The purpose of crossbreeding these goats is to improve our goats, because generally Uganda's livestock, 95% of it is of local breeds, which are not good at reproducing. So it creates a production gap. For example, our local goats take long to mature, and as such, they take long to gain slaughter weight. But if we crossbreed these goats with the exotic ones, you find that a crossbreed of our local goats, let's say a Mubende and a Savannah, matures at around 8 months, while our local goats mature at 2.5 years or 3 years. And we are breeding a Savannah type of goat, which is white. The reason why we chose Savannah is a white goat, because we are targeting the Middle East market, where Arabs associate white with righteousness. So the project as it stands now, we have covered, out of the 108 farmers, we have covered 87 beneficiaries, rather farmers, each one of them getting a minimum of 50 goats. We give out goats in batches of 50 because we cannot take 200 goats in one go and we give them to one farmer because they are not easy to handle.
How come you are at the center of the breeding process, of the goat breeding project? How come you are at the center? And how did this project come to be implemented? The people need to know how.
In 2004, I was asked to meet the president in Kisozi. So for long, the president had wanted to find a white goat for breeding to supply the Middle East market. Maybe the technical people in the ministries, in the relevant ministries, could not find white goats. But when the president came to visit me on the farm, I already had white goats. So the president said that I will give you more resource so that you breed more goats, more of these white goats for export. So that is how, when the project started, and I told the president that it's almost impossible for one person to breed goats for export. And I asked him to give me some bit of time, and I write a concept paper for him, which I would then explain, which we would discuss together. And he liked the concept of taking on.
Can you tell us briefly what was in the concept paper?
What was the concept paper? I sat down with my technical people and we went to the district to see the statistics there, to see the land tenureship in Sembabule. We found out that originally there were 41 ranches in Sembabule, which were then subdivided to accommodate more people who were landless, formerly called the squatters. So those are people with something like a minimum of 150 acres. And the original ranchers were left with at least 4 square miles, 2 square miles, 3 square miles. And besides those, there were other people with their private land. So we did a cross section through those farmers, and we came up with a number of 108 farmers, which I asked the president to support with 500 female goats. As for me, Sembeguya Estates, I made an offer to give out, or rather, to establish a breeding flock of 200 female goats to support the project, with 150 males for immediate support of the project. All of them valued at 700 millions.
We looked at the vast land in Sembabule, of so many ranchers, but that were virtually empty. So you wondered why they are empty. So now, how are they feeling? Are you happy that they are filling up, or there's still more to do, more work to do? Because your concept, how many goats did you want? How much were they going to cost?
We opted for 500 female goats for each farmer, because these are not improved goats. So we wanted to achieve a critical mass within 5 years, whereby we could have enough goats for export without depleting the resource. So our target initially was to have 16,000 goats for export per week.
That required how many breeding goats?
That required 54,000 female goats, the local ones, plus 150 males. Those are not enough. That was my offer to the farmer as a show of commitment to the project, because this is supposed to be some kind of a tripartite between the government, Sembeguya State, and the farmer, whereby the farmer is going to give his land for the project, plus the management of the goats. The government gives out 500 goats to the farmer, and Sembeguya State takes on the mantle of imparting superior knowledge of goat management into the farmers, plus one he goat to each participating farmer.
With a breeding stock of 54,000 goats, what is the expected? What is the expected multiplication rate to achieve the export target? How had you calculated it?
Ideally, a goat, an improved female goat, gives birth twice in 13 months. So if one had at least 1,000 of those, you can see within 13 months, a single goat will have given 4 offsprings. So when we sat down and calculated, we arrived at that number, because I don't have the calculations right now. But that was the basis of the calculation. And the land size plus the vegetation in sembabule is very suitable for goat rearing, because goats are browsers rather than, unlike cows, goats are browsers. They don't feed on the ground mainly. They feed on shrubs, and we have a lot of that in sembabule.
$4,000 goats, how much were they going to cost, plus overheads, plus infrastructure? How much did you budget?
6.5 billion Uganda shillings.
6.5 billion would give you 54,000 goats plus overheads. Quite a sensible investment in terms of wealth creation.
And we expect that to generate 120 million US dollars after 5 years per annum.
So really, you can really tell viewers how easy it would be for the government to generate wealth and become self-sustaining economy. You can explain it to us again.
Yeah. To most Europeans, it would be difficult to tell him, or rather to satisfy him, that 6.5 billion Uganda shilling can generate 120 million US dollars within 5 years. This is so because, yes, this is so because of our comparative advantage.
I was asking you about the investment returns. You just told us you can invest 6 billion, and after 3 years you get 120 million dollars. That sounds to me very incredible. Just tell me again how you make it. How can you make that kind of money with minimal investment and you reap so many returns? And just tell me why we are not investing in agriculture.
This is very simple. It's just because our planners, our technical people, don't get it right. Uganda is comparatively advantaged, such that we have plenty of rainfall, plenty of sunshine, unlike in European countries. In Europe, for example, in September, that is autumn time. That is when the winter period, winter season sets in. So plants cannot grow under such weather. But here, plant growth takes place throughout the year. So that is why with meager investment, we can really achieve quite a lot, just because of our comparative advantage. We don't have to plant the pastures, the shrubs are there, water is everywhere. So unlike in Europe, where you have to plant the pastures, or rather to provide food for the livestock, here you just let goats to go to feed themselves without feeding them.
You've said something very, very intriguing, that our planners never get it right. Why don't they get it right? It's very simple. You showed it to me, I saw it. The president saw it. But why has it taken so long from 2005 to now 2010? 10 years. When the project was supposed to be 3 years. Why has it taken so long when everything is so clearly successful, so easy to do?
Again, it is something to do with donor money. When we go out to borrow money, the donors set terms, which terms we have to write a proposal, which we have to take to them to approve so that they give us money. So they base their thinking to the European ways. While here, this is a different country, this is a different continent. The conditions are not the same. For example, I don't need a tractor when I'm a cattle keeper. I don't need a tractor when I'm a goat keeper. Somebody who grows cassava may need a tractor. Somebody who grows maize may need a tractor. So once government wants to develop livestock, it gives it asks the ministry, the relevant ministry, to start writing a project which is going to be presented to the donors. So it is the donors who gives you terms of reference. So that is why they get it wrong. But this project was written on the farm here, because we know what somebody who is going to keep goats, what they want. But somebody in Washington, somebody in Germany would not know what is required on the ground here.
I think the problem goes beyond donors. It goes beyond donors because, to me, 6 billion is very little money. It is $3 million. It's $3 million? $3 million. You don't have to go to the donors to get 3 million donors. We can generate it here, nationally. So there must be another problem beyond it. Maybe people don't know the potential that exists in agriculture. Maybe they don't know how to work out the markets. They don't know the opportunities. So I think if you continue preaching that you can make more than 100% profit in goat rearing, maybe those who are investing in communication and power generation can turn to goats. Maybe you could say more about the opportunities in agriculture, how you have succeeded with your cattle and with your goods. How are you as an investor?
Yes, I have fared as an investor. And I can't think of any other business besides cattle keeping and goat keeping plus orange growing. I earn enough money out of that business.
How is enough?
For example, if one got, let's say, 5 billion Uganda shilling and put up a skyscraper in Kampala, you can never get 5 billion Uganda shilling out of that building within your lifetime. While if I got the same amount of money, and I invested it carefully in cattle keeping and goat rearing, I would generate enough money to construct that skyscraper and possibly put up another farm.
What you're telling us, Paul, is worth publicizing. It's telling potential investors that they should look at agriculture more critically than we are looking at agriculture. Agriculture is now viewed as a very hazardous, as a very risky-prone investment. You hear so much people saying if you invest in agriculture, it's not a sure deal. But here you are telling us that you are better off than the person who has invested in a skyscraper in Kampala, and there are many going up and on loan, most of them on loans. So you are a happy investor. It looks like you are a very, very credible and prosperous investor. Have you been recognized?
I was by Uganda Investment Authority. I got 3 awards of the investor of the year, best investor of the year from the diaspora.
You invested your money? Yes.
I have been living in Britain for 20 years, and that is where I got much of my capital, and I invested it in cattle keeping and goat keeping. Maybe let's talk about the mistakes which are done by the government and the people. Basically, our livestock, 95% of our livestock is of indigenous type, which take long to mature with small size. But if we could concentrate on crossbreeding our livestock, people would see agriculture or cattle keeping as a viable business. For example, I have 6 square miles. If one has 6 square miles with, let's say, 1,500 heads of cattle, breeding herd, as a breeding herd, one can have a minimum of 1,400 heads of cattle for sale each and every year. So, on average, a single mature cow costs something like 700,000.
Yes.
Then
times 1,000. That's how much? 700 million?
Over 700 million.
Over 700 million.
Over 700 million.
Yeah. That's what you're worth.
Yeah, approximately that is let's say 9. Oh, let's call it 1 billion, because if you sell them for slaughter, that is when it costs 700,000. Then if it is for breeding, at times you sell it for 1.5 or 1 million. So on average, one can earn 1 billion out of a 6 square mile ranch, and that is on the cattle side only. So with the goats, I sell my goats. The savannas are 2 million each. The Boer goat is 1.5 million. A cross of a savannah is 500,000. Then a cross of a Boer is 350,000. So if you calculate all that, surely one can hardly earn that much from a single building in a given year.
You've just told me that there are 102 people in Sembabule who have got 1 square mile and above. Is that correct?
We have over 200 people who owns not less than 150 acres of land. So our criteria for selection of those beneficiaries, one has to own at least a minimum of 150 acres of land. That is when they can qualify. Plus, they have to show us owners to prove to us that they own that land. So from there, we can give them goats. They can put up structures and then start managing the goats, whereby those people are supposed to keep those goats for 3 years. without selling them. They can only sell the males, but they are required to leave the females for multiplication. Because if we give them goats without such terms, they would start selling the goats there and then. So that would defeat our purpose of a critical mass. Because without a critical mass, we won't be able to export and retain enough breeding stock, as the case is with our Uganda fish.